So Kevin, a question we get sometimes on info@ is somebody has like an 8-week training program and they want to use the check-in app with that to make sure they can see who's there each week. But since it's just one event right here, in the check-in app, you can only check them in one time. So how would they be able to use the check-in app week after week and just have people sign up for the one event?
So what we normally recommend in this situation is creating an event for each of your week's training. So in this case, this is an 8-week training program. On the back end, we're going to create a week 1, week 2, week 3, so on and so forth. And then we're going to hide those events or make them private. And what we're going to have to do is export our participants that have registered for the 8-week program and import them into each week's event. This will allow you to check participants in for each specific week, but more importantly, allow you to keep their check-in status week after week. So if Timmy comes in week 1 and you check him in week 1, but doesn't come week 2, but then comes back week 3, you'll be able to have a log and a history of which weeks Timmy came, so on and so forth. I've talked to races where they'll have prizes for participants that show up to every week of the 8-week training program. So they want to keep a log of who's been there and how many times. So let's take a look at how we create all these separate events. So the first thing we'll want to do is head to our race dashboard, and we'll head into our wizard under race wizard. And on the first step, all we're going to do is select the add another event. In our case, we're going to add an event called week 1. And then we'll add an event called week 2. And if you're doing this for an 8-week program, you would essentially add events all the way up to week 8. So once you've got all of your events created, we'll select save and continue. And we'll head over to step 3, registration. And what we're going to do under this step is we are going to hide those additional week 1 through week 8 events that we just created. You'll select modify multiple events. And we'll go ahead and select the week 1 through week 8 events. You'll also want to add a registration period. In these scenarios, all you have to do is add an open and close date and just set the price down to 0. Again, no one's going to be actually registering for this race, so the dates don't particularly matter. We just need a date and a price in there for the system to work properly. Under additional registration options, there's going to be a private event code. And so what you'll want to do is simply set up a private event code for all of these events. Essentially what this is doing is this is going to be hiding the week 1 through week 8 events. And the only way to actually be able to register for those events is to go to this specific link right here. But because you aren't sharing your private event code, no one's actually going to know this link. So that's how we're going to hide those events on the back end. If you want to learn more about private event codes, we do have a separate video on that. In our scenario here, we're just using this just to hide it, and we don't have to kind of dive too deep into kind of the reasoning and how to find all these URLs and everything like that. Once you've got your private event code set up, select copy to events. And what this will do is copy all of the registration periods that you set up, as well as the private event codes to all of the week 1 through week 8 events. We'll hit save and continue. And at this point, we've set up the new events, we've hid them from the public, so you're good to go. And if you wanted to check real quick, if you head to the front end website, and you can see that still only the 5K and the actual 8-week training program is available for participants to select and register for.
All right, so now what do I do when week 1 comes around?
So what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to export all of our participants that have registered for the 8-week training program and import them into the week 1 event that we created. So to do this, we'll head to our race dashboard and we'll head to participants, view participants. So the first thing we'll want to do is make sure our report is filtered to just that specific event. So we'll select search/change event. And under the event dropdown, we're going to want to make sure we select the 8-week training program so that we're only showing participants that registered for that event. And then we'll select update report. And the next thing we'll want to do is select export options, download report as CSV. So what you're going to do next is open up that CSV that we just downloaded, update the event column from 8-week training program to week 1. If you got a lot of registrations, you can just update the first 2 rows and then drag the changes all the way down for each specific row. So now that we've got the event updated, we'll go ahead and save that CSV. And What we'll do is now we're going to import these participants into the week 1 event using that new CSV we just created. So under participants, import paper entries, we'll select CSV import, we'll import to the most recent event, and then we'll select the CSV that we just edited, select continue. And this is just column matching, so just making sure that the column event in the CSV is matching up with runtime event, date of birth to date of birth, first name to first name, so on and so forth. You can go ahead and select continue from here. For the import process, typically for these types of situations, you can just select continue, but it may differ depending on your specific needs and process. But once we get to the final step, you'll see that these specific participants are about to be imported, and they're all going to be imported into the week 1 event. And then we'll go ahead and save these participants, essentially importing them into week 1. So now we've got all these participants in week 1. Now if we select view all and we go to search/change event and you go back to the 8-week training program and we update the report, you can see that these 4 participants are still registered for the 8-week program, but now they also have a registration for the week 1 training program, allowing you to check them in just for the week 1 event if these 4 runners come to week 1. Now, something to take note is if your training run starts at, let's say, 6 a.m., and if a runner decides to register for the 8-week training program at 5:45, but you did the export-import of participants at 5:30, you'll just want to make sure that you're capturing all of your participants last minute. So what I've typically recommend is just having a look at your person report and just seeing if any new registrations come in, because if they do, you'll want to go ahead and export and import those people in. If it's just 1 or 2 participants that just recently registered, you can do a manual import, so just manually typing their name and information into the import process, or you can export the report as a CSV and just delete the rows of people that you've already imported into week 1, leaving just the new registrations in that CSV that you're going to import. And once week 2 comes around, you'll essentially follow the same steps. You'll export all of your participants in the 8-week training program, change the event in the CSV from 8-week training program to week 2, then manually import those participants in that CSV, and that'll get them into the week 2 event.